Welcome back to Hytale Lore. We're talking about Zone 2 today. Where's what I'm looking for? These ones we already have up. These are like the barrack things. The barracks. Okay, here's little markets. Aha. Monuments, Drylands Trading Post. Let's see. Let's have a little peek around. Is this something you can find in-game? I have never seen, but I realize more and more that there are many things in the game that I have not seen. Also, while I'm poking through this, I will let you know, I'm hopping back on my tail shortly after this. I don't know that I will stream it. Zone 2 Undead Tier 3. Okay, so this is supposed to be a human ruin. We're doing like a court trial or something, which seems to be a necessary addition to any block game SMP, a strange court case that you can't quite comprehend. I'm very excited. You guys have voted in favor of a My Tale supercut, so I might wait to do that until after this court case, and then I'll smush it all together, if the case is funny, that is. There's only so far we can get without actually seeing what everything looks like. Let's take ourselves to the hub and go find a desert. So, last week, we need to go south. Oh, the lag. We need to go south. Last week we talked about Zone 1, so we covered, you know, creatures, factions that are in Zone 1, things that are, like, models that are in the game that don't currently exist in adventure or exploration mode, and what we hope might come. So we're kind of going to do a similar thing here when we get to our deserts. There we go. Perfect. Perfect and perfect. Howling Sands, Golden Steppes. I wonder if there's any good buildings we can go to. So it's laggy today. There's some look at that tiny look at that tiny little baby Zone 4. Tiny little baby Zone 4. There's a human ruin, I think, over there. Do we have any good... Ooh, wait, I just want to go... Oh, and there's a fair and camp. Let's go over here. I want to see this. And is that Scarrick over there? That looks like a Scarrick base, if I've ever seen one. Alright, this is the place for us. Wah, wah. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful generation. I love this. Little springs situation. Hot springs. Hot springs. Where is our... That is also very nice. I think that's a prefab, isn't it? Okay. We have Scarricks over here. That is, yeah, is also tiny. Tiny little baby Scarrick home. This is just an egg nest, isn't it? I believe so. I believe so. But this is good, because there's a few things in here, like this little piece in particular, that I think is very worth talking about. Let's go see what our Farron situation looks like as well, before I start yapping. What's this? Wait, that's kind of a... I get very enamored by all the generation now. I like that. That's a very cool touch. What do we have? We have a little fair in town. Nobody's home? Fair in Tier 1. Why did it not generate? There's nobody here? I was hoping that there's no chests either. Is something... is something broken and bad? I don't know. I really don't know. Let's go over here to the springs, though. We're gonna bring in a couple little creatures of our own. Let's begin with the factions, just as we did with Zone 1. Let's throw these things away. Don't need them at the moment. Entity tool. Let's bring in... let's start with a Farron. We'll grab a Farron. Let's do... just grab one of them. Just one of the base ones. Let's grab one of them. Let's grab a... Scarrick. What Scarrick should we do? Maybe a Seeker? And then let's grab a... Skeleton. God, I love the music here. I love it so much. What skeleton do we want to have? Let's do a Sand Soldier. Oh, I didn't know they had that animation. That was fun. Let's do a Sand Soldier. We're gonna pop... Look at you crawling out of the ground. We're going to pop you in here. These are our 3 main factions that we have in Zone 2. Currently, we have our Farens, the kind of positive or neutral faction. We have the Scarix, negative, obviously. And then we have our Ancient Humans for Zone 2 as well, which I have some thoughts about. We'll get into that in a minute. First off, covering the piece that most people probably already know. So if you are watching this on YouTube and you've already heard this, like skip ahead a couple minutes or something. But Farron and Scarrick lore has shifted from what it used to be. In terms of like the concept art and the lore that we had released through the blogs initially. The Scarricks had more or less enslaved the Farrens and forced them to build their giant ziggurats, which are not structures that are currently in the game, but you can see them in old concept art for the game. Forced them to build these big ziggurats, and then the Farrens, or at least some of them, escaped. And these bracers that they have on them, let's slow ourselves down just a little bit here. The bracers that they have on them, on their arms with that wind symbol, are called freedom bracers. And so it was a symbol of the Farrens' escape from the Scarricks. This little symbol right here, God, this is really beautiful music. It's actually kind of distracting me. The symbol here is supposed to represent the element of wind, which is the element of Zone 2, and it has this little rune to represent it. Oh, wait, they have like their own face stitched on their shoulders as well. I never actually noticed that before. That's very cute. That is no longer the case. There was a lore Q&A that was, what, a couple months ago now? And they confirmed that that is no longer the lore in the game. The Scarricks did not have that experience with the Farrens and vice versa. We also got confirmed in that same one that the Scarricks are native to Orbis, which is really, really interesting. So we have... I'm going to back up just a second here, okay? We have... Let's go to our paste tool. Could I find these looking up circle? Okay, yeah, so these are elements of what are called magic circles in the game. These are also all over the place in old concept art as well, but it's basically the concept that all these different elements, maybe eventually will have different magical properties, but still in the game, even though they don't have different like sources or types of magic, there are still these different crystals that represent these different magic types. And there are these circles that I don't believe spawn in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody let me know in the comments. I've not seen them. But here's a middle. There we go. They've got these crystals set up in the very middle of the circles, and then they have these towers that are around the outside, and they correspond to different important elements in the game. So we have this one right here for the sand that has the crystal associated with the element of wind. So it's a wind circle, right? And then we have these for... Oh, there's a lot of different types of these. We have these for other elements as well, right? So we have these for the fire. Interesting, we're only being shown... fire and a little bit of poison. It's the poison one that I want to focus on, so let me just look up poison. So hive poisoned. Hey, look at that. Poisoned hive. And it's all made out of corrupted hive soil as well, with a couple little eggs in there. Poison, these sort of poison prefabs in these poison circles like this, are prefabs that are meant for Zone 4. So in Zone 4, it looks like we get the fire circles and we get the poison circles. But I am bringing this up for a very specific reason. Oh, we get the poison trees. I bring this up because in Zone 4, we get these poison circles, and we also get... oh, what are they called? Is it Alchemist? It is, the Burnt Alchemist. These little guys right here. So we have the poison circles in Zone 4. We have these alchemists that carry around bottles of poison, and you can also find those bottles of poison hanging out in places where the alchemists spawn, like prefabs where they spawn inside of Zone 4. Never had considered, before I was doing like a little bit of prep and research for this video, where does their poison come from? The clearest source of it is actually right here. See the stinger? These guys shoot poison. They shoot poison. The other really interesting thing about Zone 2 is that thorium gear You know, we could talk more about this if if the Arbors and Ore video ever wins. Thorium gear has poison resistance. And if you look at thorium itself, the thorium ingot, we get this little tooltip blurb here that reads, while Farrens do not themselves make use of this metal, they keep a vigilant watch over its deposits in the sun-scorched deserts and arid badlands. Should their age-old enemies rise once more, these reserves would be the first they sought to harvest. Really, really interesting here. So they don't currently use it, but they're aware of it and they're prepared to use it. Another element of the living world that I would love to see come to life eventually, some sort of tension builds between the factions, and the Farrens start actively mining this when you're in, like, what would that be? Adventure mode, where the quest system is eventually supposed to take place. And eventually they, like, prepare themselves with thorium armor and weapons. Which brings me to the idea that the Freedom Bracers in the current setup, the current lore that we have in the game, or the direction that they seem to be going, could be, instead of escaping, servitude for the Scarix, it's just they share land, they share territory, and they do not agree on what to do it, or what to do with it, or how to behave. We see in the Scarix structures, I wonder if we can find any more of these if we look it up in the prefab list, actually. Let's look up Scarix. Yeah, you can definitely see some elements of it. So, for the Scarix blocks, we have these normal dirt blocks right here, and then the purplish ones in there are corrupted Scarix blocks. And so it looks like there is, like, at least a loose association between the Scarix and Varen, or some sort of, like, corruption that's taken place there. So if we go and we look at our lovely statues, we've looked at these quite a bit before, but they're always worth going back to because I feel like they're kind of cornerstones for a lot of these cultures. You can get to see directly what these people believe in based on the statues that they would keep close. This statue is clearly insectoid and meant to be associated with at least the ancient Scarix. And it reads, Statue of the Founding Builder, long since forgotten by the fallen Scarix, which I'm assuming is our modern-day Scarix. Some few statues of the Founding Builder still stand in their oldest ruins. The few explorers who have since stumbled upon them speak only of an emanating sense of disappointment and disapproval, as if the stone itself was stained by its silent witness of the atrocities committed under the first and last Scarix Empress. So, my thought process here is the ancient Scarix, or I think primordial Scarix as they're called. If we look up primordial, we get all of these different items that would be eventually used in, I guess, primordial Scarix structures that we'd be able to discover. These things don't really take place in the game at the moment, but I hope we get to see them soon. It would make a great chapter update as they begin the chapter cycles. I think it would be really, really cool. But primordial Scarix used to live here in Zone 2, following the Scarix Empress, the first and last Scarix Empress. My understanding, based on the little hints that we've gotten, is that that Scarix Empress led them to do some horrible things, probably under the influence of Varen, which is how we get those corruptive elements in the Scarix blocks today. So if we look up corrupted, we get all of these corrupted pieces of hive material, not just the soil here, but like actual bricks and pieces made out of it. So not only did the corruption happen, but they leaned into it enough to start building things out of it. Which would make perfect sense if these two factions are enemies. The Farrens don't seem to have like a very close relationship with Gaia like the Quebecs do, but in the Forgotten Temple entrances, do we have any down here? In Zone 2, do I see any? I don't. I wonder if we can find it in here, actually. Let's see. If we just look up Temple. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, when it loads in the prefab, you can see the grass color for whatever biome you're in. Wait, that looks so Elden Ring with the, like, the dry grass. That is very cool. There we go. Perfect. Perfect, perfect. If we load this in, this is the Forgotten Temple entrance that you would be able to find in Zone 2. Outside, there is the statue of Gaia. And around this temple, you can see that it looks like it used to be a human structure, but since the humans are gone now, the Farrens have moved in and kind of commandeered it. Oh. And we didn't paste air. Let's try this again. Let's try this again, and let me paste air, because I want to go down below. Paste air. There we go. Now we should be able to see. Perfect. We should be able to see our temple, or our portal. So they've kept the statues of Gaia down here, but the temple is kind of like, it's fallen into disrepair, right? The Farrens have moved in, but I don't know. It's not clear to me if they actually have any sort of real association with Gaia. They don't have any, like, symbology of her in their camps. Obviously, they have the wind symbol on them that seems to be attached to Gaia in some form because it's one of her 5 elements. Like, we literally see it right here. I guess that's the earth one. Is this the one meant to be it? It is. It's just hard to read on the side, on the corner here. That's the sort of hook shape. The same one that they have on their bracers. If we go have a little peek over here. But, anyways, oh, this is building 2. In Zone 2, Gaia's statue is called a sleeping deity, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, statue of a silent deity. And then we do see in the tooltip tag, the ID, that it's still called the Gaia statue, but here it's a silent deity. So I don't know. I've always had the impression that they've kind of like, at least partially moved on from her. But it does still set up the parallel between the two of them. The Farrens being at least loosely associated with Gaia, the Scarix being at least loosely associated with Farren. Which is then really interesting because we know that these guys seem to have experienced a cataclysm over in Zone 5, and there's been a lot of theories from myself and other community members that that cataclysm had to do with their association with and worship of Farren. Could be a really, really interesting piece of ancient history for the humans and the primordial Scarix, that they got their potion brewing, their alchemy and everything from the Scarix. Maybe the Scarix even had a hand in pushing the members of Crucible in Zone 4 towards their own destruction and downfall. All we can do is theorize, right? But I think it's a really, really cool idea, given that we know that these creatures kind of fell to corruptive influences and have since fallen from the grandeur that they used to live in. And we know that these guys experienced a similar fall from grace, right? Their civilization collapsed. Perhaps both of them engaged in similar things in the process of getting there, maybe even had parallel stories as well. Which brings me to our other faction here in Zone 2, which is our skeletons, our ancient humans. I've been looking through the models a little bit just to see what little morsels I can scrounge up. We have, amidst the skeletons of different zones, we have various types of magic users, right? So if I scroll down a little bit, there we go. We get Frost Archmages, right? We have the Archmage down there. We have, I think there's a Wizard as well. It's not popping up in this list. Let me see if I can search it. Yep, there's the Burnt Wizard right there as well. And then we have this Skeleton Archmage as well. And then we have our Sand Archmage and Mage. Where's our Sand Archmage? The thing that I'm trying to point out here, you can actually see it a little bit here, is on the Archmages. Let me just look up Archmage. Skeleton Archmage, Frost Archmage, Sand Archmage. This one, it has the most clear depiction, I think. It has a crown on top of its head. And I wonder if in their societies, because we've not seen any skeletons that are like Skeleton Noble, Skeleton King, Skeleton, Queen, Skeleton Prince, whatever. None of those, at least not so far, but we do have the Archmages having a crown on their head, right? We have them having a crown. The other really interesting thing here is that the other skeletons, not all of them, but quite a few of them, like this one here, this is just one of the base skeletons, right? Just like a relatively normal one. On its clothing, you see this symbol right here. It looks like the shape of the staff that the Archmage wields. So, the impression that I'm getting as we're putting all of this together, one of the largest structures that we can see in the game in any zone are the, I think they're called mage towers, right? Tower, 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 tower. There we go, mage tower. These mage towers are among the largest structures that we see. I'm getting the impression, as I'm diving a little bit more into looking at all of these pieces. Here we go. Sandstone mage tower. That perhaps it was the mages that held those positions of power in their society. They have these enormous, enormous towers that they lived in. Obviously, magic would make them tremendously powerful inside of Orbis. And the kind of grunts of the skeleton armies have a symbol that seems to mirror the staff that the archmages wield. Which is really cool, really interesting. I get the impression, obviously this is one of those pale blue crystals, has it in the crown as well. God, it is a perfect match to the eye color too. That's crazy. I know we've talked about that before as well, but very cool. Very cool to see. Anyways, these guys would have presumably used some form of wind magic. I don't think that's how it's programmed in the game right now. We can test. I don't think that's what they do. Oh wait, you're frozen. Never mind, I can't test with you. Let's bring in a new one. I kind of want to see what happens. Because my recollection is they do not shoot wind magic. Okay, no freezing on spawn. You spawn in. Come at me. Yeah, they do not shoot wind magic. It's just those green bursts. Which I think use the same particle as the life essence, don't they? Eventually that will change, I'm sure. But, these guys, the Farrens, do presently have wind magic. Let's bring in, a Farren Windwalker. I'm not going to freeze it either. I want it to try to attack me, which they usually do. Come at me. Do I have to hit you? They're a little skittish, are they not? Come here. Come here. Yes, there you go. Look at the tornadoes. Do you see? God, it is so cool. And I'm gonna die. It is so, so cool. So these guys have legitimate wind magic, which is absolutely awesome. And I have to assume this is only the beginning. I'm sure they're going to add more magical elements like this. Interesting, though, that as they perform wind magic, they seem to do it just using, like, at the top of their staff, there's that same hook symbol that you see on the Freedom Bracers on top of their skull. They don't seem to utilize a crystal, they just seem to have that magic, which I think is absolutely amazing. Now, there's also the idea that we already talked about that the Farrens are kind of watching over these thorium deposits. Also worth pointing out that thorium and the stone that was added, I think in one of the very early updates after the game was released, this cracked mud, they look very poison colored, right? We know that in terms of Varen's color scheme, it's purple and green. Those are the colors that seem to represent him. And obviously these are just like, it's the presence of thorium ore in the soil, but it does look like the soil has been poisoned a little bit, does it not? It really, really does. So they're looking over these thorium deposits, right? How might they be looking over those thorium deposits? My theory is that it is these guys right here. I believe it is the Farren Burrower. Look at you. They're very cool roguelike looking creatures. They've got these goggles that I assume make it easier for them to go underground. Maybe like it lets them see underground. I'm really not sure. Really not sure. It looks like maybe they're made out of crystals as well, which would be a very cool touch. But my theory is eventually we're going to be able to see. Look at him lounging. I didn't know they did this. My theory is that eventually we're going to be able to see these guys kind of go underground and monitor those thorium deposits, which I think would be really cool to see. I'm also just realizing right now the mask that it's wearing looks remarkably similar to the mouth of a Scarrick, does it not? And the big eyes, kind of like the goggles that it's wearing. We do sometimes see these thorium deposits inside of scarab nests like we did in this one over here. Maybe the burrowers are designed to kind of like steal into the nests and make off with the thorium that is down there so that they can have it and the scarabs cannot have it. Oh, that would be fascinating. That would be absolutely fascinating. I would love to see that. Where was it? Over here? Here it is. See? Behold. The last piece inside of this is one that we've already talked about before, but I feel it is worth bringing up again, especially if anybody watching has not seen the past videos. Inside of Zone 2, it's the only place where we get these absolutely enormous skeletons, which we usually see piled up outside of the Scare Archives as if they have feasted on some enormous creature, and are kind of responsible for its disappearance from Orbis. Most of these giant skeletons are like this. They're big rib cages. I think there's a couple exceptions, and one of those exceptions is a big, toothy, dragon-looking skull. Pretty sure those big skeletons once belonged to a giant snake, because it looks like, if we look in here and go back to our statues, hello, statues, we see statue of a legendary beast is associated with the Wind Temple. We've already made a video about the Wind People before, so it's not worth rehashing that much. If you want to go learn more, go check out that video on the YouTube channel. But they used to worship this giant snake creature. We see it in their structures. They're statues of this snake made out of sandstone and made out of gold inside of old Wind Temple structures. So it definitely looks like these people used to worship these gigantic snakes that roved their lands, and eventually the Scarix kind of ate them all and killed them. That's the impression I get, especially given that their skeletons are very, very often found directly outside of a Scaric nest, just like these ones are right here. Very excited to see all this fleshed out someday. If you guys have any theories, any ideas, any thoughts that I did not cover, or if you think that I got something wrong, and you're watching this on YouTube, please let me know in the comments down below. And if you are watching this on YouTube, we stream this live on Twitch, twitch.tv/BreadleyIsStreaming, 11 a.m. PST on Tuesdays. There's also going to be a poll currently live on the community tab if you would like to go vote on what we talk about next week. Will it be armor and ores? Probably not. But we also have a Discord server if you want to hop in there. You are more than welcome to come hang out. And I will see you in the next video. Happy hightailing. Thank you guys for hanging out.